Hi guys, welcome back to Dadlicious Eats, and today we're going Korean. But one word of advice, don't tell your family doctor you're eating this, because this is a processed food lover's paradise. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Budae Jigae, or Korean Army Base Stew. We'll get on to why it's called that, but first the ingredients. So first up, some oil for frying off the garlic. Some Korean corn syrup, you can also use sugar. Soy sauce. Sesame oil. Garlic. 3 or 4 cloves. A tin of humble baked beans. My favourite part, a tin of spam. Korean rice cakes. Spring onions. Packet of instant noodles, just pick your favourite, any is fine. Hot dogs. Fish cakes. Cheese slices. Some kimchi. And some mushrooms. Plus, I also forgot to tell you about gochujang, which is needed as well. Right, so first things first, we need to start preparing everything for the stew. So we're going to do all of the preparation work up front so that we can throw everything in the pot later and it will be easy to cook rather than going back and forward. Now, you might think there are elements of this dish that don't look particularly Korean or Asian, in fact, things like spam, hot dogs, slices of American cheese, and that's because this dish originated back during the Korean War, because at that time there wasn't a great deal to eat, but actually what you found was soldiers had hot dogs and tins of spam, and they would hand them out to the local citizens. Typically those citizens would be around the army bases, so hence the name Korean Army Base Stew, and this was a dish invented out of necessity for need of something to eat rather than culinary creativity of trying to create a gastronomic delight. So onto the spam, which I think I've never met anyone who has managed to get spam out of the tin particularly quickly. Clearly, here is Exhibit A. But there we go. Good shake, and we're out finally. So we're going to cut this up as well. So generally I cut that in half one way and then slice it up thinly the opposite way. I dread to think of the nutritional content for this dish, but it's probably best not thought of. It's also probably best that you don't have this dish particularly frequently. We tend to have it every couple of months at home. Right, so that's the spam done with. So let's pop that back on the plate, and we're going to move on to the mushrooms. So you can probably use any mushroom that you like here. I don't tend to buy the closed cap mushrooms or the white mushrooms these days, just because I find they don't have a great deal of flavour. But it's up to you. These mushrooms tend to cost a little bit more. Also, not everyone likes mushrooms, so feel free to leave them out. The joy of this is that you can put in anything you want, you can take out anything you want. So it's really down to your individual taste. I think if you took 10 different restaurants in Korea that had this dish available, you would probably find 10 different recipes for it. So moving on to fish cake. So we just cut this. So this is called odeng in Korean. There will be plenty of Korean dishes appearing on this channel. My wife is Korean, so we have that once or twice a week. So we've got plenty of recipes that we can share from there. So moving on to the garlic. So I tend to put 4 or 5 different cloves in. You can grate this, mince it, cut it, smash it up. It doesn't matter particularly, but in this case we're just going to grate it. I'm hoping that because you've made it this far in the video, you're enjoying it and you're finding it useful. I would absolutely love it if you were to subscribe to the channel. I've got a ton more videos that I want to share with you. If you're enjoying the video, please give me a like, it would really help me out. Also, leave a comment. I'll definitely get back to you if you want to ask a question regarding the recipe, if you've tried it yourself and you've got your thoughts. Absolutely let me know and I'll certainly get back to you. So just finishing off the garlic now. we're just going to pop that all to one side while we finish off the remaining ingredients, which are the spring onions. Spring onions, just like all of the other ingredients, we're just going to slice them up. We're not actually going to be cooking these are going to go on to the top of the dish when it's finished. Spring onions are always best put on last on any dish. Great, so now that's done, let's start constructing it. So heat up your pan, pop some oil in, and then we're going to add our garlic. And we'll just lightly fry that for about 30-40 seconds or so. And then what we'll do is we'll turn the pan back off again. And the reason for that is just because we want to fry off a bit of this garlic because everything else is essentially going to be boiled or stewed. So turn off the heat. And then we're going to start constructing it. So the prettiest way, and sometimes I don't always do this, is by segmenting everything into portions. If I'm honest, I tend to normally just chuck everything in. So we make sure we've got all of our meat and all of our vegetables around the edge of the pan, and add in some kimchi as well. And then we'll pop our baked beans right in the center of the dish. I tend to use half a can of baked beans for this. Before adding water, so I'll add hot water to that, so probably about a litre, which is 2 of these jugs. So onto the sauce itself. So here we have sesame oil, and we'll pop in about a tablespoon of that. Then corn syrup. Again, another spoon of that, but you could also put sugar in if you don't have corn syrup to hand. Before moving on to soy sauce, and I'll pop in a couple of tablespoons. Super important ingredient here, which I missed right out at the start, was gochujang. So I will pop in a couple of tablespoons of that, and that's what will give it a spicy kick. So you can alter it depending on how spicy you like the dish. And then the super secret ingredient that really adds the kick to it, you're going to be using the instant noodles anyway, so let's add in the sauce packet. This might not be particularly authentic, but this is the way that I have always done it, and I find that it works out really, really well. So we give that all a stir. And then we're going to pop in our noodles. So always make sure you've got enough water just to cover pretty much the top of everything. And then pop the lid on. We're going to cook that for 5-6 minutes until the noodles are soft. And then we're going to add our sliced cheese right on the top. And we'll cook that off for another minute until that cheese is melted. That's looking really good at the moment. This is the perfect winter warmer dish. So once that's ready, we'll just pop over some spring onions to give it a bit of freshness. And there we have it. That is Korean army based stew, or Budae Jigae. This is perfect on its own, or you could serve it up with some rice or maybe some fresh vegetables to lighten it up a little bit. But this makes an absolutely cracking meal out of ingredients that you really wouldn't assume go together. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate that you've made it all the way to the end. I'll be back soon with some more great recipes. Until then, bye bye.